A Cultural Turn. By Withered Rose. Yesterday an article of mine went up on the American Sun providing 3 principles of art criticism. This article followed 2 previous pieces of mine, one discussing Times Square and the other the need for media creation, not more consumption. Why? I have had an interest in art for quite some time, and even have tried my hand at poetry and painting. These 3 pieces for the Sun, and a 4th one to appear in the Virgin edition of my friend's Sunflower Society magazine. Check out his Telegram page and give him a sub, https://t.me/sunflowersociety, followed a slew of posts I posted here giving specific details and programs for political victory. Orientations, some suggestions I have for the new right. Untitled Alternative, my alternative to both the new right and mainstream political visions. Why the left wins, and how you can too, a call for the right to use the power of the purse, which is how the left won all of its victories. How to fight, a call for absolute ruthlessness in cutting off the source of political problems instead of putting a bandage on them. How to slay a demogorgon, a combination of the above 2 articles mixed with some cultural references and a sense of urgency. Now for something else, a link to an article I wrote for our Latin friends over at the New Columbia Movement, in which I combine the insights of Brooks Adams and Hilaire Belloc to make the case that prior to a cultural revolution, the right needs to orchestrate an economic revolution. As you can see, I wrote a lot about specific policies and general approaches to politics. Now, I am still young, and I am sure my thoughts on these matters will change, but at some point, you have to stop talking about how to win and just win. There is no sense in redrawing a map over and over, eventually you must decide to follow the map and walk from A to B. Without showing my hand, I am working on walking from A to B. Until we have gone from A to B, what is the task at hand? Repeat these proscriptions until they are implemented? Redraw the map as we follow the map and keep doing so until we arrive at our destination? There is merit in saying on other platforms what has been said here, especially when sites like The Sun gain significant more traffic than this humble blog of mine. Those who are not on yet bored with the Scattered Roses agenda, and those who are grow by the day, are not likely subscribers and will only hear these policy proposals if they are repeated on new platforms. Yet, there is more than policies and political frameworks. There is art, for one, and hence my Tory Bohemian series for the American Sun. Where did the creators go? Cantos and cocktails, the tradition behind Times Square. Principles of art criticism. Many of the greatest men of the right and left wrote little about concrete policy proposals, preferring to touch on cultural and spiritual issues instead. Ernst Jünger and Jürgen Habermas, 2 intellectual heavyweights, spent most of their time talking about pain and freedom, in the case of Jünger, or the public sphere and communication, in the case of Habermas. Being on the side of better funding and the zeitgeist, Habermas had a larger influence, but Jünger's impact is nothing to sneeze at. To compare myself to either man would be delusional, and to aspire to be like either is a lofty goal. Yet, the type of content that Jünger or Habermas would produce is lacking on the dissident right. Besides a few people, most on the right are focused on current events, World War II revisionism, and promoting Curtis Yarvin's source material. This is not to condemn any of the folks that talk about any of these 3 topics, but to simply point out that this is most of what goes on. Does the world need another current events blog? What about revisionism? Can we make political realism new and edgy for the 99th time? No, it does not. What it needs, exactly, is something I am unsure of, but it is not one of these 3. As I think about this, I will translate some of the political recommendations I made here for the American Sun and potentially other publications. This is not to say I will drop politics, but I have been rather heavy-handed with policy proposals and will lay off for a bit. While I do some reflecting on what is needed, stay tuned for an upcoming American Sun post where I will synthesize a reverse critical theory and Brooks Adams and a positive vision for the right, while incorporating some Samuel Francis and distributist thinkers like Hilaire Belloc, and a favorite of mine, and one I have been waiting to write about, E.F. Schumacher. This article should be pretty fun, as it will lay out a framework for understanding our current political predicament that includes its solution. So, hang tight. Keep an eye on the American Sun, and check out the About page for a directory of posts here. As I think on what is needed, what this cultural turn will look like, I will be editing some old posts to clean up typos, and changing some philosophical errors I made.